Hello, everyone, and welcome to Session 3 of the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. My name is Randy Henderson, and I am one of the Black Feminist Reading Circle members of this online group. This session runs from January 20th until June 2nd and includes 2 week-long breaks. Our democratically selected reading material is Harriet A. Washington's book, Medical Apartheid, The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to the Present. Our book group meets each Tuesday evening from 6:30 to 8 on the Google Plus Hangouts on Air platform. You may find the Global Black Feminist Reader Circle on Google Plus, YouTube, and Facebook, and always feel free to join us in reading our story together.
Welcome everyone to meeting number 5 of the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle in our reading of Medical Apartheid, The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to the Present by Harriet Washington. I'll be your moderator tonight. Georgette Moses is my name, and I'll ask each one of our members tonight to go around and introduce themselves. Let us start with Mr. Joel.
Hey, how you doing? I'm calling in from Charleston, South Carolina. Most people call me JJ. Just glad to be here. God bless. God bless.
Thank you, Joel. And Vanita?
Hi, my name is Rita Walker, and I'm joining you from Connecticut. Welcome, and God bless, Joel.
Thank you, Vanita. And last but not least, Michelle.
Hello, everybody. I am Michelle Odom. I'm in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm happy to be here. This session runs until June 9th, and anyone that still wants to join in, please do so.
Excuse me, chapter 4, the surgical theater. In this chapter, Harriet Washington explores in detail the reason why African Americans justifully saw hospitals and medical schools as places of terror, violence, and shame, and not of medical care. Black bodies was considered clinical material with neither legal rights to control their most intimate bodily functions, avoid degrading public displays, or seek redress for being ill-used or murdered at the hands of medical professionals and their students. These physicians practice invasive and surgical procedures on interned slaves and free African Americans to explore new techniques, display their surgical skills or lack thereof, and boost their reputation among their peers. Washington notes that there were a few voices in protest to these abuses. The black physicians James McCune Smith and W. Montague Carr regularly defended the human rights of African Americans. In 1894, Rudolph Matus, MD, published a 125-page surgical analysis exposing the faulty logic of the scientific racism that allowed the use of treatments devised, adopted, or rejected based on black bodies for their white patients. The availability of black bodies, poor bodies, and other desperate souls as clinical material could make or break these medical establishments, and were essential in meeting their students' enrollment goals. It was all about training, never the healing.
I have Michelle read Part B and the first question, if you please.
Okay. African Americans filled circus tents as well as medical school rosters in disproportionate numbers. Medical schools, clinics, and hospitals were buying heavily for students, and they needed as much clinical material as possible to further the medical training, teaching, and research they prized above the welfare of their patients. Physicians like Dr. T. Stillman of Charleston, South Carolina, regularly ran ads in newspapers soliciting slave owners for their sick Negroes for the highest cash prize. They wished to test new techniques and medications on the chronically unhealthy blacks and then market them to their white paying clients or become immortalized in some medical publication. Blacks and other poor people bore the majority of this new hospital movement that required physicians to have hands-on clinical experience. Subject to open ridicule and disrespect, they also endured unnecessary or involuntary surgery, often without anesthesia. Question 4. The city of Richmond, Virginia struck a deal with the Medical College of Virginia to provide the college with clinical material, or sick and infirm paupers, in exchange for funding for a workhouse. Does this surprise you? You want me to read all the questions, or?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. You read all the questions.
Question 5. In 1848, the same college faculty proposed opening a hospital for blacks only to ensure a supply of patients for clinical instruction. How does this make you feel? Would it make you now question any political, real estate, medical transactions or initiatives you see in the future? Question 6. Washington makes the comment that American hospitals of the 1800s were very different than the antiseptic, high-tech, ethics-obsessed meccas of scientific medicine we know today. Do you think we could have reached this stage of medical advancement without the sacrifice of all those nameless, faceless bodies? Was it worth it? Question 7. Were you surprised to learn that in the North, free blacks were expected to submit to research as payment for having been treated?
Thank you, Michelle. Well,
The question that came to my mind, it says, American hospital 1800s were very different. Do you think we would have reached the stage? Well, this is if you believe, and I don't really know a whole lot about Eastern medicines, but if you believe that the truth, put it this way, I cannot get to New York by heading south on I-95. So if you're going in the wrong direction, whether or not something look better or whatever, is it still the truth? You know what I mean? So whether, so as Western, you have to believe that Western medicine is the only way or is the better way. Who knows where we have been if we had been open to all medicines. I'm not saying there's no room for Western medicine because there's bullet wounds and there's man introducing a lot of different things that's external into our body environment of our body. So we would need some type of surgery to heal us. But if we are looking at a holistic approach, we may be better off doing other medicines as well. So we might be looking at 40 years from now, just like Vanita said, her doctor said those were primitive times, we still may be looking at 2015 as a primitive time.
Absolutely.
Yes, I have to agree with that.
Well, I was looking at that same question. American hospitals, Washington makes the comment that American hospitals in the 1800s were very different from the antiseptic. I don't know where she gets that from, because if you want to get anything, you go into a hospital. Even your doctor, my doctors told me that the last thing I want to do is go to the hospital, because of all the staph infections, and I've had a couple, and they were terrible. So now they're actually telling you they want you in the least amount of time as possible. It's been more beneficial to your health to get in there and get out as quick as possible. So I don't know about the antiseptic part. And the ethics-obsessed meccas of science, I don't think science is obsessed with ethics. I think science is obsessed with liability today.
And
with liability today, because we have a thing called legal liability today.
Yep.
And they're more, they can give a doggone as far as I'm concerned about ethics.
Yeah.
Because they were concerned. You're right. Because if they was concerned about, if they were concerned about ethics, the thing of the licensing and things like this here, they would let a doctor's track record follow them around like a DWI. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? They would. If they really cared about policing their own, and making sure that the best doctors are out there. But you know what? They're important. They're, like you said, Vanita. They're concerned about legalities. You know what I mean? They can hide the past of this bad doctor, and he's one of the boys that they let into the fraternity. It's a rarity that they kick him out of the fraternity and don't let him practice medicine again, when they should be purging people that are no good.
Well,
but I think because they believe, I think at the end they believe that their damn whole system is faulty in the first place. That's why they let everybody play the game.
Well, I mean, in every profession there's gray areas, and I don't think people understand how wide that gray area is. And it gets wider all the time. So you can walk that fine line with all this middle in between. So it's not about ethics at all. And that's why so many of bad physicians, because they're good and bad in all occupations, are able to continue to treat people, hurt people, and even kill people in a lot of instances, because that gray area is that wide. It's like giving a person open heart surgery. When you sign that form, it says, well, it's a heart. Chances are it can stop beeping. So you know what I'm saying? So that's, it's harder to accuse a doctor of negligence unless it's blatant when you're dealing with the heart, because that's the heart. You only got to skip a few beats and you're out. So we did the best we could. He might have.
Even if you leave a spoon in you.
Excuse me?
Even if he leave a spoon in you, they wouldn't care. You know what I
mean?
He can leave a spoon and a pork chop in you. It'd be like, well, hey, you know what? By the time I left that in him, he was dead any damn way. What difference?
I'm just giving you a good example.
Get the family $100,000.
That the gray area actually is. When you're dealing with certain situations. So it enables them to be able to get away with a lot of things. And it's also a protective system around them. Yeah.
And we assume that they're smarter, but when you look back and they say, well, he got into medical school because his granddaddy, and his daddy was a physician. Well, it ain't no idiots in that family nowhere down the line. How the hell is everybody getting into medical school? Sound like a bunch of nepotism to me.
It's called white privilege. That's what it's called, white privilege. Your name happens to be a certain name. That's how it goes, Joel. We got to get moving. I'm going to start doing some time.
Well, I do want to confess that I did find it surprising that in the North, the charity care patients were expected to submit to being experimental subjects in
Well, you say
exchange.
because they were across the Mason-Dixon line, they was not.
No, I wasn't surprised because it was the North. I'd have been surprised to learn that that was the case in the South or the West or the East. And I'm saying confession because that is just, another way of my naivete that, they kill me with these names. So you call it charity care.
Yes. It just makes it sound pretty.
Huh?
It just makes it sound pretty. Yeah.
That's
Well,
right.
really, I mean, just makes everything sound pretty. I'm not surprised.
Me either. I think what's so crazy is that when you look at this section as a whole, you see how the doctors created this world of prestige for themselves built on not much more than they had been criticizing back when people were bleeding and using leeches and cupping.
Yeah.
So
And that's why I look at it like, are we that much further along than these fools in the 30s? Not really.
No.
No, we're not really. Not really. Not really.
kind of scary, y'all.
Oh, I've been afraid, very afraid, Joe.
Oh, they do. I mean, when they go back and they look at why, when they look back at us and they say, why did they think that putting radiation in somebody was going to cure cancer? That was stupid. We're gonna look at that. It's like, why do they think that?
Right.
That was crazy. Didn't nobody know any difference? Just like I'm thinking about, didn't nobody know any difference of, why wouldn't you wash your hands before you go out? When they know about the germs, they're gonna look at us like that too.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's gonna come a time when they was like, they were stupid.
Well, the good news is, Joel, I'll be dead.
Well, and
The question
Maybe.
Don't try to keep me in GM. Don't try to keep me in GM. I want to go. I'm going.
No, but
I'm going. If I take myself out, I'm going.
But Joel, what you were saying earlier about Eastern medicine or African traditional remedies, there were white folks were the last folks on the scene, as far as we know, of humans. And so black folks were around, yellow folks were around, keeping ourselves alive. Discovering the properties of plants.
Yes.
Discovering the value of cleanliness. Discovering vaccination. Remember what we learned in the last chapter, I think, about Onesimus. And so it's not a question of whether or not other people have valuable insight, knowledge to share with the world. It's a question of whether or not we are going to allow ourselves to benefit from the existing knowledge.
Well, there's no profit in it. And that's the sad thing about it. There's no profit in curing.
I don't understand. These were scientists. A lot of them were Harvard grads. They came from prestigious school, brown, fabulous backgrounds. And the word scientist, don't you know about a germ? Scientist, germ. I mean, or is that they didn't care about a germ? Scientist, germ? Really?
I don't think they cared.
You understand?
As far as I can tell about these charlatans here, what they cared about was their own prestige. You know, that's what I'm learning in this book of Apartheid. You know, they cared about their writing, you know, being accepted in the journal, and then if you wanted to be in the journal, you had to do the same thing these other clowns were doing, and what everybody was doing, they were just killing black folk. You understand what I'm saying? That's all they were doing. So,
And it's like some kind of gang
yeah.
mentality. Like I'm thinking about the story of that young doctor Prey who started out feeling a measure of compassion for the clinical material, and for our listeners, clinical material means us, but he was feeling a measure of compassion as he started out as a young doctor, but the other doctors basically beat up on him and pressured him into doing this savage-like surgery on a young African girl's labia. And then what did it take, about a year before he was running around trying to scare the white women with a piece of dead nigger that he had salvaged from the dissection table. You know, so he had lost all sensitivity, he had lost all compassion, he had become, and you know, and I think that is one of the central messages of this chapter, that the very process of the medical training is designed to you know, take away whatever kind of feeling for people you might have going in. They make sure by the time you come out, you have absorbed all of the values that they want you to have, and they're like gangster values.
Yeah, exactly.
That's correct. You have to wonder, why do they feel it's necessary?
Yeah,
I don't know, but
because anybody that has compassion is going to mess up their program.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Well, there are probably some little country doctor out somewhere still using teas and herbs and telling you to get some sleep and turn the TV off. You'll be better.
And get some more sun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I loved all that discourse, but we got to move along.